Good evening. This is Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. And we want to first, of course, thank our founder, the Reverend Catherine Brown, D Tycoon. This is such a great forum for bringing forward social justice issues and other issues that affect the community so that we could work toward more community unity and as soon as possible, now if at all possible. This is Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and we are partners. The Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce is partnered with the Reverend Brown D. Tycoon in making more social justice happen through our forum and in our other work as well. Today, we will be discussing in a little bit with the State Representative Kam Buckner of the 26th District about his task force and that he wants to create and that has already passed the State House. And now it only has to go through the Senate, the State Senate, so that he could form the task force. Oh, awesome. You're here. Awesome.
Sorry about that. I got
okay.
stuck in a committee meeting.
Oh, committee is good. No problem.
State Representative Kam Buckner, 26th District. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. We were just introducing to the audience you, and then also about your HB 3988 for missing and murdered Chicago women and girls. But first of all, Representative Buckner, could you tell us your 26th Illinois State District, what areas do you cover?
Yes, so I cover the neighborhoods that basically run along the lakefront in Chicago. So South Chicago, South Shore, Woodlawn, Washington Park, Hyde Park, Kenwood, Bronzeville, downtown, the South Loop, River North, Streeterville, and the Gold Coast.
Bronzeville, isn't that where the Rainbow Push Coalition is, right? Bronzeville?
Yes, I have the pleasure of being a Bronzeville resident. I live there, and yes, I also have the pleasure of representing Rainbow Push in their offices on Drexel in my district as well.
Awesome. Wow. So let's start from the beginning. What initiated your work for HB 3988 for missing and murdered Chicago women and girls?
I began this work after reading some newspaper articles and hearing some stories from people around the city of Chicago about the large amount of young women and girls who had either gone missing and had not been found, or who had gone missing and then later subsequently had been found murdered, but there had been no resolution to their cases. And I said, listen, somebody's got to do something about this. We got to find a way to address this in an intentional way and bring some resources, some energy, and some attention to this issue, so that we give these young women and their families the closure and the justice that they deserve.
Mm-hmm. Yes. What about your residents? And have you spoken with the families of some of the missing or murdered young Black women and girls? And what have they told you? What frustrates them the most?
Yes, when I first began talking about this publicly, I got a lot of feedback from people in my district, from folks around the city of Chicago, and in fact, people who live around the state of Illinois, saying, thank you for doing this. I have a friend, I have a family member, I have a cousin, I have a sister who is a part of this number, unfortunately, and nobody is paying enough attention to them, and we need to shine a light on them. And so those calls helped, move us along to make sure that we were continuing to put the pressure to get this bill to the floor of the Illinois General Assembly, and hopefully soon to the governor's desk as it has passed the House, and now it is waiting for action in the state Senate.
When will the Senate take up the bill so that maybe our viewers could contact their state senators to show their support?
Yeah, I don't have an exact date, but my assumption is that somewhere in the next 2 weeks here, there will be a hearing on it in the Senate, both in committee and then a full vote on the Senate floor. Our last day of legislative session this year is April 8th. And so we are nearing the end of the session, and I have full faith and confidence that it will get done this year. I've got a great partner in the state Senate, and Senator Maddie Hunter, who has picked up the bill in the Senate, is going to and is going to usher it through that chamber.
If it passes the Senate, then how long before the governor signs it, if he does sign it?
Listen, I hope that the governor will sign it immediately. I have not had a conversation with him about this particular bill yet, but I know where he stands on this issue. And we are going to implore of him that we make this a priority and we get it signed as soon as it hits his desk.
And also, where can our viewers find a copy of HB 3988?
Yeah, if you go to the ILGA, ILGA, that stands for Illinois General Assembly, ilga.gov, G-O-V, there's a search bar on the left-hand side of the website where you can type in HB 3988, and it will give you the entire text of the bill. It'll give you all of the co-sponsors of the bill. It'll give you the current status of the bill, and you can watch that as it makes its way through the Senate now.
Do you know if it was unanimous when the House passed your bill?
I think actually it was a unanimous vote. I don't have the exact count in front of me, but I don't remember there being any opposition, and I'm thankful to my colleagues from both sides of the aisle for supporting it.
Do you know who the members will be? What stakeholders will be involved in the task force? Have you settled on that yet?
Yeah, so there are the task force requires, right? So some state legislative representation, some representation from the governor's office, some representation from law enforcement, and also from community groups and organizations. We have not honed in on who those folks are. The governor actually gets to pick the members of the task force, and so I know that our thought and our hope and our preference is that those people are people who really understand this issue and can help us bring some of this resolution to it and make sure that this doesn't continue to happen.
Well, Bill and I at the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, we work with the community too, and we've been helping a family try to locate the missing 40-year-old woman in Rogers Park, Sheena Gibbs, and she went missing in November, and the case didn't come to light until in January. But at least it's coming to light from what I see and from your bill. It seems as if it's very hard for most of these cases to actually even reach the press and to come to light.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is that many of these cases, they are forgotten about easily, and people move on and don't spend enough time trying to peel back the layers and figure out what happened. And so I'm extremely grateful for the work that you all are doing at the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and people around the city who have really taken a personal approach to this. Because these young women belong to somebody. They're somebody's daughter, they're somebody's mother, they're somebody's sister and or aunt. And we really owe them their respect, right, to try to figure out what happened to them. So I'm glad that folks like you guys are doing that work, and we got to continue to elevate that narrative.
Well, Representative Buckner, you come from a law enforcement family. We really haven't heard much from the point of view of law enforcement on missing black women and girls. Do you have any insight on law enforcement's viewpoint on this issue?
Listen, I think up to this point, no one has done enough. I think that's true of law enforcement. I think that's true of the state legislature. I think that's true of city government and even the federal government. But I've had some really good conversations with both members of CPD and the Illinois State Police and the Illinois Sheriff's Association about how to move this forward and make sure that we're getting the proper responses for these young women and these girls. And so I'm hopeful and optimistic that we're going to be able to turn the tide here and get some movement on this.
And have they ever expressed to you that it's not only that there's not enough attention, but there are not enough resources as well?
I've heard that tangentially. I haven't heard that from as an official line from any police departments. But I've heard that, and so this is part of the task force is to be able to shine a light on this, so we can get the proper resources and the proper dollars and energy that we need in order to address this.
We recently saw an article that U.S. Representative Robin Kelly, she wants to do a former task force in a national task force on missing women and girls as well. Are you working at all with her as well?
Listen, I work very closely with Congresswoman Kelly. She's awesome, and I'm glad that she has taken up this fight, and we will work with her very closely to do whatever we can on the state level.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So many missing persons cases. There are many different reasons why a person may be missing. Maybe they ran away. Maybe the worst case scenario. As for the exchange of information between departments and different states, does this bill have anything to do with that?
Hopefully, yes. What this bill will do is to give us the tools to get the answers that we need in order to make the policy decisions that will make us all safer, make these women and these communities safer. We don't have the answers to that yet, but hopefully we can garner those from this work.
In a previous interview, we were informed that sharing of information between departments and between states is not currently mandated. Does this bill cover anything like that?
Once again, the bill gives us the opportunity to put some things in place that will do that. It doesn't mandate anything, but what it does mandate, it doesn't mandate anything from that perspective. But what it does mandate is that the report that is due to the General Assembly and that the governor will act on has all of those facets baked into it.
So it would take the role of like a task force or maybe an advisory council for the governor?
It's going to be a task force. And listen, I'll say this. Often task forces are not very effective in legislation, but we have committed to this one being different, to making sure that we take what's done in this task force and take the information, the data, and analytics, and use it in order to further the conversation here and then move along some policy. So that's the commitment that we're going to be asking for from the governor and the state government, to give us the full force and power of the state government to make this task force worthwhile, so we can get some real movement.
There are some databases too of missing girls and young women, and then would the task force be studying? You mean that the task force will be studying those databases to make sure that they're to address any issues in which the information is not sufficient and some necessary information falls through the cracks.
Yes, the task force is going to analyze all of that data. It's going to look at everything that's out there already, and try to find a way to kind of have all this information under one roof, so we can make the right move after that. The task force really is step one. I think step two is what happens after the task force.
Mm-hmm.
And what would be your role in the task force for step two? Would you have a role, or just creating the task force and promoting and making the bill happen is your role?
Well, I think the governor can choose to add me to the task force if that's what he would like. I would welcome that. I would ask for that. But also, my role and my commitment is going to be, as soon as that report is done, as soon as the task force has done its job, to be standing at the ready to present legislation to move the ball further down the field in terms of all of this.
Do you know if there have been other task forces that also studied the issue of missing and murdered women and girls?
I've not heard of any before, but I'm not sure that they don't exist. I don't know of any.
Mm. Yes. Well, we're very well. Thank you for doing this because it's very necessary. We hear about this problem all the time, and it seems as if it should have been done a long time ago. So finally, it's getting done, and hopefully, best of luck to you that we get that task force. Do you know how many? Have you specified how many members would be on the task force?
Yeah, it's a 12-member task force.
Okay. And would there be any community members, any family members? Maybe some families, they've dedicated so much time to trying to find their loved one. They might be experts at this as well. Would the families be witnesses, or would maybe some family members also be invited to be part of the task force as well? Are you accounting for any community family members?
Yes, there's going to be a mix of, as I said, legislative leaders, community organizers, people, family members of victims, and people who are community activists, focus groups type folks in this. So we're going to make sure we got a good balanced group who can bring us some real answers.
How long have you been working on HB 3988?
For about 2 years now.
And what inspired you to start that? You have family who are part of this, and then there are other victims in your district and all over. But what was the actual inspiration for this, and how did this start to come about?
Yeah, the inspiration was just that I knew that these numbers had skyrocketed and there was no real resolution for these families, and then I felt horrible, and I knew that they deserved some energy and some resources and some attention, and so that's what led me here.
What was the main obstacle? 3 years is a long time. What was the main obstacle for this bill, and how many? What were the? What were the the main how do you say it?
Yeah, our main barriers.
Challenges, barriers and time checkpoints, of what happened.
Listen, we always had support on this. The problem just was COVID. COVID came and we didn't have the ability for a long time to meet in person and to move a lot of legislation, and so COVID was a barrier. And now that we're past that, we're getting stuff done. Well, we're not past COVID, but we are meeting in a more normal cadence now, and so we're getting a lot more stuff done.
Mm-hmm. And who were the main supporters? Were they mainly families and the community, or could you give us a little insight on that as well for the bill?
Yeah, we had supporters from all over. We had family members of victims. We had once again, law enforcement did help on this. Community organizations and community groups and community members. There was a very wide and very kind of support group for us here, which is why we've been able to move it this year, without much pushback.
And what other branches of government are there any municipalities supporting this and working with you, or other jurisdictions that are working with you on this to make this bill happen and to help you with this work?
So mainly the state of Illinois is the government entity that's been doing the work at this point. But once we get through the task force, we're going to be calling on municipalities to be helpful as well.
Mm-hmm. But were any municipalities supporting you as you were working on this? Because we would assume that there are so many municipalities that are affected by the numbers of missing and murdered women and girls.
We did not hear from any specific municipalities when we were doing this work. That doesn't mean that they weren't supportive. They weren't, vocally part of their process.
So this is looking like it's going to pass, and it's looking like the governor is going to sign it. sign the bill. Once that happens, and we're creating the task force, what is the estimated time between the bill passing and the actual task force being created, do you think?
It's effective immediately. And so the governor, after signing it, will begin to place members on the task force, and they will begin a meeting immediately. And after they have maybe a year, maybe 6 months, I'm not sure, from the time of their first meeting to come up with the report and deliver it to the General Assembly and the governor.
Okay, so their findings will be presented to the General Assembly and the governor. So it'll be more concentrated on the state level. But you will also be reaching out to jurisdictions as well, so that they will also be involved in the work. Is what you're saying? Okay.
Actually, this will be all hands on deck effort, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. What about the federal, such as FBI, etc.? Did they have any input? Did they give you any advice, or did they share any frustrations with you concerning missing and murdered women and girls?
We didn't speak to them directly. We know that they've been doing some work in the past about this, and that there was some FBI action to figure out whether or not a serial killer was on the loose. But we didn't work with them directly on this. Once again, this is the state government putting our resources together to make sure that we can go out and find these answers, and then therefore put together subsequent policy that can directly address what we learn.
Mm. Would there be any budget set aside for this? If so, do you have any idea about how much it would cost to implement the task force?
Yeah, there's already a state line item that deals with task force and commissions, and so it'll be added to that. I don't know that number because it's a large aggregate number, and you have to pull it out. But we'll be able to cover it through what's in the budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So after the news came out, what was the reaction of your constituents that at least it passed the House? What are the supporters of the bill doing now? Are they trying to contact the state senators, or what's the work now? What's the call to action?
Witness slips, or
yes, people are definitely filing witness slips, calling their senators, talking about why they're supportive of this, why they want their senators to be supportive of this. And so we will just ask people to continue to do that, to let their voice be heard, let people know how important this is.
And if Illinoisans want to help, what should they do? And how do they find a witness slip? What should they do?
You can do all that from the website I gave you earlier, ilga.gov. If you go to the HB 3988, you'll also see some slips you see a link that'll tell you when it's going to be up in committee, and then you can click that link, and then it will allow you to slip as a proponent of the bill and to show your support.
Do the witnesses have to go to Springfield, or could they join in on Zoom?
They do not. They can join virtually.
Okay, awesome. And we've been actually Bill and I have been working with in helping people with disabilities access all these things that the rest of us that do not have disabilities could access easily. Let's say if a person with disabilities wants to support this bill as well, are there any special instructions for people with disabilities?
I'm not sure about that, but I would be happy to find out more. And if there are, we should make those and make sure that it's accessible. So I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but I'm willing to find it. And if we don't have the proper procedures in place, we can push to make that happen.
Are there any other details or stories about creating this bill?
No, I mean, literally, this was one of the easiest things I've worked on. Obviously, it's been a while because of the pandemic, but there are so many people from all around the state who were supportive of this. If you look at the bill, you see that I've got co-sponsors on this from all across, like I said, all across the state, from both political parties, who really were just committed to getting this done. And so it was a real treat to be able to be the person that's carrying this. And I look, excuse me, and I look forward to getting more movement on it.
And it seems like you've got common ground if both aisles. And this issue is everywhere. It's a national issue. It's a worldwide issue. But in the 26th district, do you have anything else to say to your constituency in the 26th district?
Listen, this bill is a perfect example of what happens when you listen to what people are saying and you come together and try to find a way to get to solutions and not just getting bogged down in our problems. And so I'm looking forward to, as I said, continuing the conversation on this and many other things because it's what we deserve and what we need to move forward.
There have been a lot of complaints that the media, the mainstream press, does not cover the issue of missing and murdered Black women and girls as much as they would do of white missing women and girls. And have the media spoken with you? Have you spoken with any members of the media? You don't have to tell us names, but have they spoken with you about their experiences and why it's like that?
There's been some interest. It's not been a lot of interest, but some of mainstream institutional media has reached out, and we've had some conversations about them. So I think that there still needs to be more attention put on it, and we'll continue to work on that.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is that they have expressed their concern, but the mainstream media, they expressed their concern, but they really haven't told you about any possible solutions about getting more coverage for missing and murdered Black women and girls. Is what you're saying?
I haven't heard much, but we should continue to push them because I don't believe that the solutions are all just based on them. I think folks in position like mine, I think folks in position like yours have to continue to push them, make sure they're covering the things that matter to people.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Do you have law enforcement support with this? Sometimes there's a code of silence. Sometimes law enforcement doesn't share information. Sometimes all kinds of scenarios. Do you have full law enforcement support on this bill?
We do. Law enforcement has been a very pivotal part of this conversation, and so we appreciate them for that.
And you said that law enforcement did not mention how they could do better work, but they are supportive of the bill. Did they mention how what it would take to help them do their job better and help find these missing and murdered women and girls?
Well, we're hoping that the resources of the task force gives them some resources to find the answers that are important in this whole conversation. And so, once again, we'll this is just step one. We'll see once we compile all this information, all this data, what we can do after that. And I expect law enforcement to be a part of that conversation.
We've been working with various groups that are calling for a missing persons registry that's updated and all the information is accurate. But there are a lot of challenges with that because, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes a missing person is found the next day, the next hour. Sometimes it's not an Amber Alert. Sometimes it's not being paid attention to as much as it should. So, for a missing persons registry, what would a missing persons registry look like to you if it were ideal?
Listen, this 2022, we have the technology to have a robust platform for this, to make sure that it's updated in real time, and to make sure that we're sensitive to the entire situation. So, I'm not a tech guy by trade, right? But I know that there are people who have the ability to do that. And so I think any up-to-date missing person registry has to consider all of the factors and has to use the technology that is available to us to give us the best answers.
Well, State Representative Kam Buckner, thank you so much for joining us. We ran out of time, but there's still more to discuss. But thank you so much for joining us and shedding light on your
Thank you.
task force. And good luck to you. And we hope very much that this task force will come into fruition.
Thank you all. Have a good one.
Thank
You
you.
too. Thank you.